Namaskar, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu editorial analysis on October 3rd, 2023. Now, let us resume our readings on Gandhi in his volume 1 of the collected works of Gandhi. Now, in 1893, he was proceeding to South Africa to help one of his brother's friends, Messrs. Abdullah and Company in Durban. He was to act as an interpreter in Gujarati to English. So he lands in Durban in South Africa and stays along with Abdullah and Company to learn the legal documents and translate the Gujarati documents to English. He was offered 300 sums of money and to and fro tickets. However, we find him writing a letter to the Natal Advertiser. The Natal Advertiser is a local newspaper from Durban. We find him writing a letter to Natal Advertiser in reaction to a news item which appeared in the Natal Advertiser and Durban Mercury. The title of the news article was "An Unwelcome Visitor." The Natal Advertiser reported the news like this: an Indian who was a stranger entered the Durban Magistrate Court and took his seat nearby Dada Abdullah and Company, and he was wearing his turban. The magistrate took note of it and was not happy with the turban not being removed from Gandhi's head. He was asked about the credentials, whether he produced the credentials to be seated in the court chambers. Gandhi replied next time he would bring his credentials, he could continue the rest of the day in the Durban Magistrate Court or not. He was allowed to sit in the Durban Magistrate Court, and this was what reported in the Natal Advertiser, and we find him replying to the report of an unwelcome guest or unwelcome visitor. Now, turning on to the topic of the day, we will discuss the news items, the editorial items one by one. The first editorial item is titled "Capturing the Rains." It is discussing the weather situation in the pan-Indian situation which has just gone by. It is reporting that on an expectation of 87 centimeters of rainfall, the actual rainfall was only 82 centimeters. Initially, it tries to report that 9% of excess rainfall is reported in some parts of North India, whereas South India received very less of rainfall. This it attributes to the El Nino phenomenon. The El Nino phenomenon is the monsoon enemy. El Nino is the enemy of the monsoon. What is El Nino? El Nino is the warm situation on the eastern and central Pacific Ocean, which controls the monsoons in India. If the El Nino sets in from April onwards in a particular year, there would be drought in India in that year. India is particularly dependent upon monsoons for various reasons, ranging from agriculture to its water needs, drinking water needs. And contrary to that, there is a La Nina phenomenon. Between 2019 and 2022, there was the La Nina phenomenon. And this La Nina was the monsoon friendly, and India obviously received excess rainfall. However, in the midst of this El Nino phenomenon also, during the Rabi season, there is a visitor. There is a strange visitor every year India is facing. Who is that? And what is Rabi season? Rabi season is the winter crop season between November and December when we sow the crops. This season is known as Rabi season. And who is the strange visitor to Indian subcontinent on this Rabi season? It is the western disturbances. What are these western disturbances? How this form? I know you know about how a storm forms. A low pressure develops when the sea heats up. When the sea heats up, a low pressure develops and the storm around it revolves around it and it hits the coastlines of certain countries. Similarly, these western disturbances are formed in the Mediterranean Sea, which is of the west of GCC countries, and the Caspian Sea, which is in the midst of the Soviet Union, that is European, between Russia and its allied countries. And this moves towards the Indian shorelines and the main part of India in the winter season and causes some rain, sometimes heavy rain. Delhi got its the record highest rainfall in winter in 42 years. It is due to these western disturbances. These western disturbances are responsible for some summer spells in India. Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, it received the over normal rainfall and sometimes floods. This time there was floods due to these western disturbances. And the insurance against this disturbance is to create a kind of infrastructure which will not be affected by the torrential rainfall and the flooding. The unscientific way in which the infrastructure is constructed in the hillocks has to stop is the end line of this editorial article. Friends, the next editorial article which I am going to discuss is titled Gold Rush. This is with reference to the Asiad which is going on in Hangzhou, and India's medal tally has crossed 50 on Sunday. India is aiming a medal tally of 100, and the gold rush is continuing. Gold rush means the gold medals. Today also we got gold medal in the javelin throw and even the silver medal. And in Indian hockey, which defeated the arch rival Pakistan in the steeplechase, in the shot put, and in the 50 meters rifle, who is an MBBS dropout and got gold in 50 meters rifle competition. Though India's tally of the medals is nowhere to the champion who is China, however, still it is encouraging to see that many are getting the gold medals, and this gold medal tally, even the women's cricket team which was sent to Asia this time have made us proud, and let this gold medal tally continue is what this article is all about. Friends, the next article is titled The Narrative of Populism and Development. What is development and what is populism? This article makes a quick reference to the populism which is seen in two forms, that is economic populism and the political populism. The populism has its origins in United States of America. In 1891, in United States of America, there was a populist party which was formed. It remained in the political sphere till 1908. This populist party was the first name on populism which the world has seen. There are three forms of populism, out of which two forms are discussed here. The three forms are economic populism, political populism, and cultural populism. In economic populism, what happens is that from the rich, money is distributed to the poor, and this is in the short term. What happens is that in the long term, because the poor got the immediate benefit of it and voted the party into power, the party who came to power would raise its hood and increase the prices of the essential items, and this would reflected in the more and more cost for the poor. So immediate benefit it got it. Before the election, lots of things were offered to the people, and free food, free ration, and all were offered. And the party came to power. What it do is that it would do the exact opposite of it. That is, it will increase the prices of items, cooking gas, then the petrol prices, then the electricity bills. So whatever the poor were hoping for the government to reduce, immediate benefit was given and the party came to power. But then it raised the prices. Then comes the political populism. Political populism is way of establishing direct connection between the government and the people. There would not be any kind of intervening institutions. So what happens is that the intervening institutions are criticized by the government. For example, we all know of the ED. The ED raids on several ministries and departments and even banks. So what populism tries to say, that political populism is trying to say that we have to eradicate this ED if we come to power. So Directly establishing a link between the government and the people if it comes to power is the promise the political populism tries to make, and this often succeeds in getting the party to power. So, all about populism. So, restrictions and regulations have to be brought in to reduce these forms of populism as an election promise is what this article is dealing with. This is by a famous economist. The name of the economist is M. Suresh Babu, and it's a very good read. Friends, the next article in the line is the criminal law bills and a hollow decolonization. Let us focus on the term hollow decolonization. Friends, Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code have been replaced. Indian Penal Code has been replaced with Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, and the Criminal Procedure Code has been replaced with Bharatiya Nagarik Nyaya Samhita. What are these laws? These laws are a way to extend the colonization which the British left. The country is fearing its own people, is what the more stringent laws are meant for. When more and more stringent laws are brought about, my dear friends, it means that the voluntary will of the people are not taken into account. The Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita and Bharatiya Nagarika Nyaya Samhita tried to, the objective of was to decolonize. That is, the country was in colonization form, so it wanted to decolonize the systems. However, what it resulted is that more and more powers were given to the police. Why does our country fear much of its people? Much of the things which have been brought through these two indigenous laws, that is Samhitas, were already there. It tries to curb the organized crimes, and it tries to curb the measures which are endangering the safety and security of the nation. This article tells that in the name of the security of the nation, what appears is that increasing more and more grip on its people by the government. So the new Samhitas have also failed to address the free will of the people which has to be given. They may voluntarily rectify their mistakes. What is the use in having the draconian police powers against the people of its nation? The people are being scared by using draconian police rules. More and more draconian rules does not mean decolonization unless the people who have elected the government, it is the people who have elected the government. So, considering them with fear by the administration, by the system, is not good, is what this article is telling, my dear friends. The next article which I am going to discuss is building bricks for the future. It is very meaningful article. Building bricks for the future means building fundamental blocks for the future for the developing nations, and in another way it means that there is a BRICS summit, that is the congregation of Brazil, China, India and Russia. Every year BRICS summit is being held. This is an economic summit. We don't own or we don't purchase arms and ammunitions in the name of BRICS, just unlike NATO, which have spent around 300 billion plus rupees on arms and defense equipments. We don't purchase any kinds of arms and equipments in the name of BRICS. And 6 more countries have joined BRICS in last South Africa summit, the Johannesburg summit. The countries are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Argentina. They have wished their will for joining the BRICS summit than Egypt. Then what happens is that a future holds good for us because the 70% of the population is the BRICS property and 46% of the GDP of the whole world is the BRICS property. This article is supporting China because USA is always going out of World Trade Organization, then Paris climate, any kind of talks about the fair trade and fair climatic conditions and fair environment, US is going away from it. Therefore, the China is inviting the African Union people, more and more Africans who do not get the visas into the Europe are going to China to work and they are just tasting China. This is hampering the belief of other parts of the world, the Afro-Asian nations towards the European counterparts. There is talk of more connectivity by the European Union and the America. So why the Strait of Gibraltar is not yet ready is what this article is asking. China is neoliberal. It is providing more electrical systems. It is providing more infrastructure. It is providing more connectivity which the US is failing to do for the world. So more and more countries are attracted towards China and it is coming into its fold. Already BRICS has India and China as the friendship partners. Therefore, the BRICS summit is the future of the nation, future of the world. More than G7 countries where US, UK, Italy, Japan and Canada are the partners. More than G7 countries, BRICS is marching forward is what this article is telling, my dear friends. Friends, the next data point article is very important. The world recorded twice as many cases of cholera in 2022 as in 2021, the WHO study. The Vibrio cholera, now it is having two strains, O1 and O139. O139 is Afro-Asia specific. In Africa, Nigeria suffered a lot. What causes the cholera, my dear friends? Access to the not having access to the clean water and not having access to the clean environment causes cholera. These studies have shown that the cholera cases are doubling and more precaution has to be made. Yemen, a country in the Middle East, suffered cholera like anything and many people died. The percentage is declining. The number of cholera cases increasing for the Afro-Asian countries is declining. However, in a total case taken together, the number of cholera cases are increasing. And it has become the twice in 2022 as compared to 2021. Friends, I hope I have come to the conclusion of today's editorial analysis. Let us discuss the key takeaways from this. Friends, any type of first key takeaways, any type of populism, we must not believe and we must be very much independent on our choosing the candidates for the election. And next one is that the westerly disturbances are causing so much of havoc in India. So the infrastructure which has to be made in India has to take into consideration these environmental factors. Third key takeaway is that there is a positive vibe which is emerging from the Asiad. This positive vibe we must take into consideration while going for our own area of work. We have our own areas of work, our own areas of duty. We must be positively charged because our country is making us proud by going above the 50 tally of the medals tally. And the third key takeaway is that never think that the government which it is trying to reduce the colonization effect of the new laws in the Samhita. The government is not trying anything like that. More and more power is going to the police. So we must take our caution against government conducting such kind of activities. It is our call of the day to decide whether such kind of practices should be encouraged or not. Fortunately, fourth or key takeaway is that fortunately BRICS, in which India is one part, is showing some positive trends, and this is what crossing the G7 countries and becoming the world leader. This is a very positive sign for our country too. Then, friends, let us be very much neat and clean. That is the fifth one. Okay, key takeaway, because cholera is spreading like anything. So we have to be very much vigilant, because O139 is the main strain of the cholera, which is causing some diseases in our country as well as the Asian countries. Friends, I have come to the conclusion of the analysis.